The Race. An Oxford Boy's Story on Self-Acceptance by Regina Linke. One very hot morning, the ox, the boy, and the rabbit sat together thinking of what to do. "I have an idea," said the rabbit. "Do you remember that bridge we saw when we walked to the Great Falls?" "I think so," replied the boy. "It ran across a wide, lazy river, and I remember seeing a shady bank. We can go swimming there." "That sounds nice," said the ox, "but I'd rather not have to carry you there this time." The rabbit bristled. "If I hadn't gone by the road with you two, I wouldn't have needed a ride at all," she huffed. "I could have run through the bush and saved myself hours." "Oh, is that so?" chuckled the ox. "Then let's race to see who gets there first today." "I'm ready if you are," replied the rabbit, getting up with a decided hop. The boy frowned at his friends. "I don't think I will run today," he declared. "I'm sure to be not only the slowest, but also by a lot." "Oh," the rabbit patted the boy's hand. "Don't worry about it. We can just as well walk there together, right, ox?" They looked at the ox, where beads of sweat multiplied on his head under the strengthening sun. "Let's race," the boy agreed with a little sigh. "It's already so hot. We should get there before our dear friend melts." The ox laughed and shook out his back. The rabbit bounced on her hind legs. The boy stood beside them. "Ready?" said the ox. They all crouched down. "Go." The boy shot forward with all his might. His feet struck the ground as he thundered down the hill and across the field. As the dust around him settled, he noticed the ox and the rabbit were nowhere in sight. His heart pounded in his ears, but he could still hear his own thoughts. "Where have they gone?" they wondered. "How can they already be so far ahead?" "I must be slower than I thought," he gasped in between breaths. "Is this really as fast as we can go?" they taunted him. "I can't keep this up. I'm getting tired." His feet began to flag. "Why are we slowing down?" they asked, exasperated. Rabbit and ox would laugh if they saw us now. The boy doubled over his knees, gasping lungful after lungful of dry air. "I have to keep going," he whimpered. Pulling himself into an awkward trot towards what he believed to be the direction of the bridge, the boy soon found there were no thoughts left to bother him at all. There was only the pain in his side, the hotness in his face, and the breaths that seemed to get shallower with every step. Soon the sun alone consumed the boy's attention as it burned a path across the sky, conjuring watery waves of heat from the baking earth. At last, the boy sat down in the middle of a road that had yet to reveal any sign of the promised river. He knew he was lost and cried. After what seemed like an eternity, the boy's tears ceased at last. Shivering in spite of the scorching day, the boy looked around. There was no point in just sitting there, he decided. "I suppose I'll turn back and wait for the ox and rabbit to come home," he said. As the boy rose, he noticed a narrow footpath sheltered by a pair of trees. Though the boy was sure it wasn't the way home, his curiosity would not allow him to leave the entrance unexplored. He crawled through the opening and found himself in a narrow grove that stretched before him like a green tunnel. Delighted with the comfort of shade, the boy followed the little path as it wound its way through the dappled sunlight until he came upon a small glade brimming with wildflowers. "Oh," he laughed, "how the rabbit and the ox would love this place." As the boy's thoughts drifted to his friends, he felt a pang of guilt that they might already be waiting for him by the river. "To make up for being slow," the boy said, "I'll gather a bouquet of flowers for whomever wins the race." He waded into the fragrant bower of greenery, a bit of sorghum and milkweed for the ox if he is the winner, and of course dandelions for the rabbit. The boy picked his way through the low-lying ground, smelling the dry sweetness that hung in the air. His hands caressed the flowers as they nodded their heads in the breeze. Wave after wave of butterflies parted for him as he crossed the length of the glade. Arms brimming with gifts for his friends, the boy found himself on the other end of the grove and continued on his way, humming along with the birds that played unseen in the branches above. At last he came to the edge of the grove, where it met the road again. The boy saw the valley open up before him and heard water flowing down below. The long red bridge he had been looking for was just across the way. A little laugh began to bubble up in his throat, and with a lightness he had not felt since before the race began that morning, the boy let his laughter grow until it echoed all around him. With his destination in sight, the boy trotted down the well-worn road, making good time in spite of the heat that reasserted itself. Before long, a pair of voices greeted him as he rounded the bend. "Well, there you are," cried the rabbit, visibly relieved from her high perch on the ox's back. "Is everything all right?" "Of course." The boy looked at his friends. "But what are you doing here? Weren't we going to meet at the river?" "We decided to come back and look for you when you were nowhere to be seen," explained the ox as he turned around and fell into step with the boy. "But say, where did you get those?" He nosed a patch of blossoms in the boy's hands. "Oh," the boy laughed, surrendering the flowers to the rabbit. "I found the loveliest glade along the way. I stopped to gather these for you." "That's so nice." "We should have stayed together in the first place and explored this place together," the rabbit sighed. "I don't remember who came up with the idea for a race, but it seems pointless now." The boy smiled. He caught sight of the river and thought of the cool water that awaited them. "The race wasn't so bad. At least, not after I stopped caring so much about how to run it," he replied. And the rabbit and the ox agreed.